the top story on the Drudge Report this morning. U.S. President bows to Japanese robot. And Breitbart had a similar thing. United States President Barack Obama bows to Japanese robot, as if he surrendered our nuclear arsenal to it.
All right, folks. Well, he didn't surrender our nuclear arsenal to it, but he does have a habit of bowing, usually to foreign leaders, and it might be one of his biggest accomplishments. We'll ask Dana Milbank right now of the Washington Post, because the title of his latest at the Washington Post is Overseas. President Obama projects a whole lot of nothing. Hey, Dana.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Welcome back to the show. Glad you could join us. So, but before we get into the meat of your column, I guess the fact that the headline can legitimately be, in some circles, even though you could argue it was Drudge and Breitbart, I'm sure you might, that he bowed to a robot. Really, nothing much, as you point out in your piece, has been accomplished, and he's walking around and flying around under the shadow of what is happening, and that's that North Korea says they're going to launch a military, a nuclear test very soon, and of course we got Ukraine going on, and so it is a bunch of nothing, and what is happening isn't good.
Well, at the same time, we have the Mideast peace process finally collapsing, as I guess it was destined to do probably from the start. Well, I mean, this is, I called it sort of a tourist visit is really what he's doing. Is 3 state dinners. He's got some Michelin 3-star sushi in there, and
yes,
do wreath laying and shrines. And when I say it's a lot of nothing, I mean a lot of conservatives say that he's projecting weakness, and I quibble with that. I don't think he's projecting weakness. I don't think he's projecting anything at all. And I'd like to see him, whatever the policy is, I'd like to see him be a bit more forceful about it, because we had this pivot to Asia back in 2011, and well, it's 3 years later, and we haven't really pivoted there. We sort of tiptoe over there and head back to the Middle East or to whatever the crisis of the moment is. So, they did make a little bit of progress on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, although they made clear before leaving that was not going to be hammered out on this trip. So if we are really pivoting to Asia, if that's really where the American foreign policy should be centered right now, and there's a good case to make that it should be, well, let's do that, and let's keep the focus over there.
When you say that conservatives say that he's projecting weakness, and you say he's really projecting nothing, kind of a Seinfeld episode, if you will, then can't nothing from the President of the United States in a trip that is of the nature that you described, can't the nothing be perceived legitimately as weakness?
Well, I'm sure that you can perceive it as weakness. When we talk about him projecting weakness, I think it's been most commonly used in Ukraine. The idea that he doesn't look tough, so therefore that's what led Putin to lop off the Crimea. But I think that that's a bit much to pin that on this president, since there's no president over the last 65 years who would have been able to stop Russia from invading a neighbor, which is we just don't have the capability to do that. So to say that they were doing it because Obama's weak, you could say that, or you could say he was doing it because he felt humiliated by the Bush foreign policy. I would say it's probably neither one, and it's just probably a really nasty guy doing nasty things, and it's not really about what we're doing. So in terms of the Japanese trip, I think it's nothing, in a sense that I don't think it's harmful. It's always nice to show the flag and go around and bring goodwill to other countries and have good sushi. I just think that it's not necessarily advancing our interest to any significant degree.
Now, let me ask you, let's take this to the Secretary of State and see where we are right now. I mean, where we are right now in Asia, you mentioned, the outreach in 2011, so this trip is not in a vacuum. They're dealing with Putin, caught on mic, telling the president, tell Vladimir that after the election I'll have more flexibility, that kind of of thing, which is what we know took place in public. We don't know what takes place behind the scenes. So it goes back to Hillary as Secretary of State as well. She actually literally gave the reset button to the Foreign Minister of Russia. We've all seen that, and I've played it over and over again, as you might expect. So when Hillary was asked by Thomas Friedman of the New York Times, what was your greatest accomplishment? She couldn't name, because she handed off the baton, is what she said, and she's come under a lot of heat for saying that and not being able to name anything. Recently, an AP reporter asked the State Department spokesman, the current State Department spokesman, what was accomplished in the 4 years under Hillary, and she couldn't come up with any one thing. She said, well, that was before I got here. Do you see these problems, whether it's the Middle East and Egypt and Libya, and of course Benghazi and Russia? Do you see her being able to shake all of that?
Well, that's an interesting question, because what are we going to be talking about in a couple of years? Is 2016 going to be a foreign policy election? There's a big difference between saying, did she have any great triumphs and did she have any disasters? And I think conservatives would point to Benghazi. It's not clear that really is going to, have legs through the 2016 election. But I'm not sure the absence of some sort of triumph, is necessarily a demerit. I mean, I'm certainly not here to defend Hillary Clinton. The Mideast peace talks were started by her successor, I think, unwisely, and it looks like it at the very least it accomplished nothing, and it may have set us back a bit by engendering more ill will over there.
Yeah.
On the positive side, he's got a very nice dog that you might have seen at the.
Who's that? Who has the very nice dog?
Gary. He's got the press briefing yesterday.
I'm sure he does. All right, now let me play you before I ask about Elizabeth Warren. I got one more on Hillary here. Now I'd love to know where you stand on Elizabeth Warren, because it seems like while the left certainly is in my view, and the media included, touting Hillary and pulling for Hillary, nonetheless on this book tour, Warren has been treated like royalty, encouraged to run at every turn. But Hillary said this 2 days ago, and she really spoke in general terms here without qualifying it at all. I want to know what you think. Let's give a listen. 13. All right, we're getting that up right now.
As men and women age, men are tired of the race. I mean, they've been running it since their late teens. They're exhausted. All they want to do is take a deep breath. They want to retire. They want to play golf. They want to, just enjoy life. And women are raring to go because they feel like they've fulfilled their responsibilities. Their kids are out on their own. It's now time for them to show what they can do. There's an army of women and frankly a very large group of older women who could make a real difference to America's corporations, businesses, academia, politics, you name it.
Of course, an army of women, not a binder full of women. But that aside, the generality about how men, when they get older, they just want to forget it, get out of here and go play. But women, on the other hand, man, they really want to get down and dirty and start their lives and run the world. I mean, if Joe Biden had said that in reverse, he'd be a sexist.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that line of argument before. I mean, I'm tired and ready to hang it up, and I'm not really old yet.
But I mean, obviously it was self-serving, but do you have a problem with the generality of the message?
I don't know if it's true. I've not seen any
no, it can't be true. She didn't say some women or some men or most women or most men. She made a blanket statement like it was a fact.
Oh, how tired are you feeling?
No, I'm okay.
You're okay, all right.
Yeah, but so you have a problem with it at all? I mean, do you have a problem with it at all?
It strikes me as I don't know. It's a little unusual, I have to say.
All right, I guess that's mine. Now, what about Elizabeth Warren? I mean, are you a fan, or do you? Well, let me rephrase it. I mean, you're a columnist, so you could be a fan. But do you think the left is going to get behind her if she does run, and at the expense of Hillary, or no?
I don't think she's going to get in the race, but I think she is the. If you look at the sort of if you have an anti-Hillary vote out there, who does it go to? And come on, it's not going to go to Martin O'Malley.
Right.
It's probably not going to go to Biden and Andrew Cuomo. I mean, there's nobody else out there who can really catch fire the way Obama did in 2008. I think the only person who possibly could do that is Warren. So I think if the left is going to, if there's going to be some liberal insurgency against Hillary, the way the Obama insurgency really was in 2008, it would be her. But I don't think she's going to do it, and I don't think it would succeed, assuming Hillary is running. I would have said she's in a dominant position in 2008, but even more so now. And it doesn't appear that there's going to be any oxygen left if she's running.
One more for you, and that involves Harry Reid. The Republicans have filed an ethics complaint against him over the attacks against the Koch brothers. Interestingly enough, certainly I would have expected them by now. I would have hoped they would have filed an ethics complaint against him over the FEC. Revelations that he gave these chunks of money to his granddaughter for gifts or whatever the heck it was, not once but then twice. But that aside, for a majority leader of the Senate, and I know, I got a soundbite here that where you were, you weighed in on it. Well, let me ask you to explain. We have 32 because you were talking about this, and I'm sure, I don't know if these were your words to describe the Koch brothers, or this is how you believe they came off and could be pounced upon. Here's what you said.
Harry Reid has been out there delivering this message for weeks, and I think others are just realizing the power of it. Look, everybody knows that in politics you need demons, and the Koch brothers are uniquely qualified to play that role. I mean, they couldn't be any better for it if they were carrying around pitchforks and had horns.
All right, so I'll give you a chance to explain that. But for the majority leader of the U.S. Senate to repeatedly call these men who have given hundreds of millions of dollars to hospitals and cancer research and museums and you name it, to call them un-American, I mean, you don't think that's over the top?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I don't know about any particular allegation of un-American activity.
But he's called them that. I mean, he's called them that over and over.
I think what I was talking about there in that clip is the idea that they are. When I say they're particularly well suited to play that role of the demon, it's because it's a private company. It's very secretive. They don't go out there and talk. So they're easy for the Democrats to put into that role of the boogeyman. And both sides do this, and you want to have the ability to focus your side on a perceived enemy out there. So, it was Tom DeLay for a while. Right. Certainly the right has, plenty in this president. And so I think the instinct of Democrats to try to put a face on something is the right one, and I think they are as good a candidate as anybody is for that. Who else is it going to be? Well, Mitch McConnell, he's kind of wishy-washy. John Boehner's kind of difficult to pin it to. There's Ted Cruz, I suppose they could work on, but
I got you.
But so I think that if Democrats are trying to build a bogeyman, which is a very standard play in politics. They're the right guys. All
right, now listen, have a happy birthday on Sunday, and the 1 week after mine, and I really thank you for coming on. I hope you come back, sir.
Well, thank you very much. My pleasure.
Take care, Dana. All right, Dana Milbank, ladies and gentlemen, the Washington Post and MSNBC here on the Steve Malzberg Show. When we come back, it's the Malzberg panel. You will not want to miss it on this final show for the week on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.